Hey everyone. So I was watching My Self-Reliance on YouTube, which is one of my favorite shows. I don't really have cable television at home, but typically I'll sit down in front of my TV with my NVIDIA Shield and surf through YouTube, and I've got a number of YouTube channels that I like to watch, and My Self-Reliance with Sean James is probably my favorite show ever. I sit through those episodes and it's almost like meditation for me. I worked from home today, so I ended up sitting on the couch for a few minutes toward the end of the day and flipped it on and saw a fantastic episode that Sean posted of him ice fishing. And he made some interesting points about getting out into the cold, and here I am in Arizona, and the daytime temperature is 78 and the overnight temperature tonight's going to be about 49. So I decided that I thought I would put together a little overnight expedition starting tomorrow morning, and I'm leaning toward maybe a stand-up paddleboard overnight camping trip to the east side of Bartlett Lake. So park on the shore of the west side of the lake and then paddle across to the east side. Can't go very far. My dog is 14 years old and she can't really hike all that far. So keep it short since I don't really have anywhere to leave her this particular weekend.
Okay, so I'm starting to get my gear figured out here. This is my clothing, my jacket, my hat. Over here we've got my entire sleeping system. I've got my tent here, I've got a tarp, I've got my sleeping bag, a pillow, a sleeping pad, a chair, and my liner for my sleeping bag. And then over here we've got a pile for my kitchen. So I've got all my kitchen gear here. I also have dog food because I'm bringing the dog along. And then over here I've got some equipment. I've got solar power, I've got tripods, I've got my GoPro. I've also got a set of binoculars there. I've got a small pile for my bathroom. I've got a towel here and all my toiletries. And over here I have my safety and security pile. I've got some first aid here, I've got some weaponry, I've got some rope and some other things.
Good morning. So here we are at Bartlett Lake. I got up early this morning, packed up all my stuff, headed out here. It's around 11 o'clock. Getting ready to set up the stand-up paddleboard, load up all the gear and the dog. Thought I'd share a little bit about how I've got things set up. So right here I've got two Seal Line 35-liter dry bags. One's green and one's black for a reason. I decided to color code them so I know what items are inside each one. So the black one here generally tends to have all of my camping gear, my tent, my sleeping bag, my tarp, my sleeping pad. I also, since I'm bringing the dog along, I also have a dog blanket, a dog bed for food, and a bowl for her. In this one over here, I keep all of my food, my clothing, first aid, my tools, and those kinds of items. And then I also bring this backpack along with some snacks for today and some of my film equipment and so on. And this gets strapped onto the board up off the water. This is called a tackle rack. This actually mounts on the top of the paddleboard here, and I can actually lean back against this and have a seat on my paddleboard. It also is really cool because it's got these tubes here that actually hold fishing rods. So this is my stand-up paddleboard. It's inflatable. What's really cool, it's made by Boat, B-O-T-E. What's really cool about it is that it all deflates and compresses into this backpack. So I can literally throw this on my back and carry it from my car down to wherever I'm going to put in on the water. Or I can actually also check this as luggage on an airplane and take this with me anywhere in the world. So I can do stand-up paddleboard expeditions pretty much anywhere in the world.
push off here. Cross straight over, probably head up, I guess that would be south. Get around this point right here, and in the back over there's some nice coves, plus back over here there's some really nice camp spots. So one of the nice things about being able to paddleboard with the dog is that I really can't backpack with her much anymore. I took her on a 1 mile backpack trip a couple weeks ago, and she was having a real hard time keeping up. It's just such a nice thing to be able to paddleboard with her because she doesn't really have to spend much time doing anything, just lay there and enjoy the sunshine and sniff the air. Well, we pulled into a spot here that I think is going to work for us for the night. Bartlett Lake is very low right now. Generally speaking, it's almost up to the foliage there. You just got to find some high ground and look for a good flat spot to set up a tent. So I'm working on flattening out a spot here right now, actually. Alright, so here's my spot. Looks pretty level. It's about enough for a 1.5 people. I've got a very tight, ultralight 2-person tent that I'm going to put there. It's just above the waterways. It's got an amazing view here. There'll be a nice sunset there that I get to enjoy. Alright, so I got my camp set up. I made myself a little fire ring. I ended up bringing one of my Helinox chairs, which I wouldn't generally bring if I was backpacking, but again, because I'm stand-up paddleboarding, I don't have to carry all the gear, so put the fire ring out in front of the tent. Wind seems to be blowing from the water, onshore breeze, so figure block the wind and then allow the embers to fly uphill instead of toward my tent. So I've been collecting some wood. In order to get the wood, I have to climb way up this ridge here and then get back into the forest. And when I say forest, I mean mesquite trees and saguaro cacti. But I've done a pretty good job of finding some dead wood. There's a lot of dead wood up here. Just transporting it back down. It's pretty interesting. You get way up high on here and they actually have buoys up here. So there are times when the water level's up this high. I've been pulling dead branches from right here. Nice long one there, carrying it all the way out. Got a pretty good pile going here. Still up above my camp a little ways. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it up here. I brought an axe and a saw, and then I got to carry it down there. Well, that was a bit of work, but it wasn't a big deal. Didn't have to really use my axe or my saw even at all. The wood is just so petrified it's not even funny. Kind of thinking about taking a swim. It's gonna be cold. It is winter, you know. Okay, so maybe 78 degrees outside. That water is probably in the neighborhood of about 40 degrees, maybe colder, I don't know. Made me freeze my ass off. Dog's the smart one. So I've been reading this book, Voluntary Simplicity.
I've been reading it for a long time. I don't get a lot of opportunity to read books, but when I do, this is the book I pick up and start reading. I'm about halfway through it. Every time I pick this book up, it really makes me start to contemplate life. This book is all about choosing a simple life as opposed to being forced into a simple life. And I feel like I'm in the place where I can choose whether or not I want to live a life that's more simple or continue to live a life that's a little more chaotic in the city. As it turns out, I have an opportunity to choose a simpler life, maybe relocate somewhere else that is less chaotic, smaller town. In fact, I've got a Google map that I've pinpointed probably 50 small towns throughout the West that I've thought about traveling to and spending some time in and experiencing to see if I might want to buy a piece of land in or around one of those communities to build a cabin on. And in order to get to that place where I could actually hit the road and do some of that exploring, I feel like maybe I'd like to have some sort of an off-road outdoor camper, maybe a Sprinter 4x4 or something like that, in order to be able to tool around and live in it part-time. Now, even taking smaller steps than that, I could probably go live somewhere like Prescott or Sedona and make a 2-hour commute once a week down to the valley to have business meetings, living in a way that's a little more symbiotic with nature, a little more in the flow of life with a smaller community of people. So that's what this book does for me. And if you haven't read it, talks a lot about how if more of us choose a simpler life, how that brings us together more as a community of loving, supportive, compassionate people. Even if you're perfectly happy with the life you have right now, there's always something to be said about taking a fresh look, deciding whether or not everything you've got going on in your life is really where you want to be, and if there's ways that you can improve. In a sense, get back in more of a harmonious rhythm with the important aspects of life. For instance, it says in here, work that is largely self-serving will produce a feeling of alienation and unsatisfactoriness. However, when our work is life-serving, then our energy and creativity can flow cleanly and directly through us and into the world without impediment or interruption. Overall, people view work as having at least 4 functions. First, as a means of supporting oneself in activity that is meaningful and material sustaining. Second, as an opportunity to support others by producing goods and services that promote the workable and meaningful world. Third, as a context for learning about the nature of life, using work as a medium of personal growth. And fourth, as a direct expression of one's character and talents, as a celebration of one's existence in the world. The greatest satisfaction derives from increasingly seeing the truth of one of the tenets of simplicity. My needs are always met, although my desires take a beating. I begin to see that my satisfaction and dissatisfaction actually arise more from my attitude and than circumstances. This, for me, is one of the most important aspects of voluntary simplicity, the state of consciousness associated with it. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. I'm going to get ready to make some dinner, and soon we'll be able to watch the sunset together, and the beautiful sky will change colors in the southwest like it always does. And things will quiet down, there'll be fewer boats out, and it'll be a peaceful evening, and then we'll get up in the morning together and make breakfast.
The fish are starting to jump out there. The sun is setting very nicely. Dinner's almost ready. Take this down to the shore there and sit there and watch the sun go down. I think we're about ready here. I think for the sake of keeping some dishes clean without having to do a lot of washing, I'm just going to eat right out of the pot. Alright, I got some music here. Although I can't listen to that music while I'm recording this film. I would have to switch over to my GoPro. But because I don't really feel like doing that, the videos I've been making with my iPhone tend to be pretty damn good, so I'm not going to worry about it. Anyway, bon appetit. It's good stuff. Things have calmed down quite a bit. Got a nice little fire going here. Dog is eating dinner. She's laying down here on her blanket. Got lots of firewood. Just calming down for the evening and just I'm gonna enjoy the beautiful view here. Sun is setting. The desert mountains are just a silhouette. Saguaro cacti silhouetted against the setting sun is amazing. Always has been. I've always loved it. Campfires over on the other side of the lake. You can see reflections of little orange campfires on the water. Fire's pretty toasty. I think I singed all the hairs off my legs. Pretty nice this time of the year to be able to wear shorts around the campfire. Got this little bottle of Frangelico. It was sitting in my cabinet and thought I'd bring it along for a little celebration of solo adventures. So anyhow, bottoms up.
Good morning, everybody. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. Got up a little while ago, let the dog out. She was cozy sleeping here under the covers and is now out running around. Had a really nice night's sleep. It calmed down, got really quiet. Got to enjoy the sounds of a whole bunch of different owls hooting back and forth and coyotes howling and the occasional fish jumping in the water. Otherwise, there was no breeze. It was really calm and really nice. I'm going to get up and make some breakfast here now and get out and enjoy the sunrise.
I think the pup decided to go back to bed. I think she thought it was too cold out. I need to send her up to hang out with Sean James up at the cabin, Ontario. Oh yeah, there she is. You know where to go where it's warm, don't you? Yeah, good girl. 14 years old, you got to give her a little break. Thought I'd set up a little tabletop this morning. Last night the surface that I was cooking on wasn't all that sturdy. We'll make some oatmeal. I also have some strawberries and bananas to put on the oatmeal. Make a cup of coffee. This is a modular bowl and cup system. And on the inside it's got an insulated cup with a little mouthpiece here. Alright, I think we're ready. Water's boiled. Put that on my oatmeal with strawberries and bananas. And then I should have enough here to make a cup of coffee also. That's some good coffee. I bet you want some of this, don't you? That looks delicious, doesn't it? Beautiful morning, sitting outside. Eating oatmeal and dehydrated fruit. How does it get any better than that? Next time I bring hash browns, I think I'm going to bring pre-cooked hash browns. If they're not cooked, it takes way too long on a backpacking stove and uses up way too much fuel and burns your pan. So I've got this really awesome pan that now has some burn in the bottom of it. I'm going to have to take care of that. But I always bring this little sponge. I cut a normal sponge down to a smaller square. And all you have to do is heat up a little bit of water in the pot when you're done cooking and scrub it out real quick. Pup's having some snacks. Come here. Come here. What are you doing? Did you have a good breakfast? Can I have a kiss? No? You don't want this. This is just potatoes. You don't want potatoes. Nice. Like I just got my morning shower. I haven't had to filter any water, being that on the stand-up paddleboard I can bring jugs of water. Really is an amazing thing to be able to bring a lot of stuff on your paddleboard trips, because backpacking you just can't do that. The trick with this is to not let that water get too damn hot that you can't stick your hands in there with the sponge. It's already hot enough. So I was noticing something interesting this morning. When I pulled my stand-up paddleboard out of the water last night, the back end was actually down in the water. So this means that overnight the water level of Bartlett Lake has dropped almost 4 inches. That is an incredible thing considering just how big this lake is. Now, Bartlett Lake's not the largest lake in the area. We have Lake Pleasant, Roosevelt Lake, Saguaro Lake. Those are all larger than Bartlett. It's pretty amazing to think that 4 inches of entire surface area has dropped. Just goes to show you just how much water is probably being used by the city of Phoenix just from this lake, let alone all of the other lakes together. You know, people take water for granted. Yes, we've got the Salt River Project here in Arizona. We've also got the Colorado River, which brings some water in. Salt River Project generally tends to bring water from runoff of the mountains. Bartlett is actually on the Verde River, so there are 2 dams. There's Horseshoe Dam north of us, which holds back water into Horseshoe Lake, and then we have Bartlett Dam, which holds back water into Bartlett Lake. And then the chain of Salt River Project lakes are Roosevelt, Apache, Canyon Lake, and Saguaro Lake. Though the city of Phoenix has supposedly got quite a bit of water in an underground aquifer, it's still important to consider the idea of water conservation and cutting down on the amount of water that you're using in the city, because it's just so easy to see how quickly water can diminish just from this example in 24 hours, or not even 24 hours. When I pulled my boat out, it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 o'clock, something like that, and now it's about 8:30 this morning. In that amount of time, the water levels dropped 4 inches. Well, we crossed over. Got probably about a mile to go to get back to the car. Dog's just chilling. Had to get off because my shoes had some stones in them. But I thought maybe what I would do is share a little bit about these shoes. People ask about what I wear on my feet for stand-up paddleboarding and so on. This is the Salomon Tech Amphibian, and these are an absolutely incredible shoe. They've got an amazing sole on the bottom, lots of traction. They can be worn as a clog by putting the back in, and there's actually a pad in there for their heel. They've got a cinch down shoestring, which I really like, and then the shoestrings tuck inside the tongue there. What I like about these is that they're just such a durable shoe that I've actually worn these backpacking on the Nepali coast of Kauai in Hawaii, and they performed very, very well. And they actually dry very fast. I had them by the fire last night, and they dried out no problem. I will say one thing though about these shoes. You have to be careful. I was trail running with these on in the bottom of the Grand Canyon at Havasupai, and because they don't have much in the way of ankle support, I twisted my ankle really, really bad, and it took like 6 months to heal. But overall, these shoes are an amazing multi-purpose shoe. What I've done to extend these shoes a little bit further is to buy some Velcro ankle supports that I can put on my ankles with these shoes. So if I'm going to hike a little bit further distance, I can put the ankle supports on, and that certainly helps. And that allows me to have a water shoe that can also be used for a hiking shoe. Like I said, they have a very durable tread on them. They're very grippy, and the ankle supports that I put on with these shoes certainly suffice in my case.